In this video, we break down a disturbing disappearance case from 2011 that left an entire community searching for answers. Caitlin Markham lived in Fairfield, Indiana, and she was 21 years old. People said she was a little strange, but also very creative, thoughtful, and a nice person all around. She was a talented artist and had been drawn to art since she was a child. Many times you could find her with a paintbrush in her hair, making something. In 2011, she went to the Art Institute of Ohio in Cincinnati to study graphic art and worked part-time at a bridal shop nearby. She had been seeing John Carter for about 6 years and had been engaged for 1. They were now planning to move in together in Colorado. He was also very artistic and taught people how to blow glass.
Believe it or not, I actually started here by delivering a pizza.
Oh, yeah?
And I asked to volunteer my time, which became an internship I did for about 9 months.
Wow.
And this is my career. I love it.
Wow. Beautiful.
Before we continue, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life crime documentaries, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. And tell me in the comments, which country are you watching from? I always find it incredible to see how far these stories travel and how many people around the world care about seeking justice and uncovering the truth behind real-life cases. Your support truly means more than you know. It's what allows these stories to reach new audiences, to spread awareness, and to remind us all why it's so important to keep searching for answers, even when justice takes years to arrive. So, thank you for being here, for caring, and for continuing to stand for truth. Now let's get back to the story. Caitlin, August 2011 was a busy month. She was just a few days away from turning 22 and only a few weeks away from graduating. After that, she would be moving out and getting married. A lot of big and exciting things were coming up for her, so it was very strange when she stopped answering everyone's calls and her phone went straight to voicemail. John, her fiancé, went to her house after no one had heard anything for a day. She should have been at the bridal shop at this time, but he found her car parked outside. It didn't look like anyone was inside or like someone had broken in. Nothing seemed broken or out of place. It looked like her cell phone was also gone and her dog was walking around by itself, which was obviously scary. At 8 o'clock at night, John called 911 on August 14th.
Hi, my name is John Carter. I am calling. I know that you're not supposed to report a missing person before 24 hours, but my fiance is missing. I can't find her anywhere.
Okay, where did you see her last?
I saw her at like 12 o'clock last night. She stays in a house by herself. I'm really nervous. The car is still there.
Where was she at midnight last night when you left?
She was at her house. She was going to bed. She wasn't going out to do anything, so she would have been in her bed. And I've been with her for 6 years. She's not deceiving, she doesn't.
Okay, and you guys didn't have an argument or anything?
Not at all. The only thing that's not there is her cell phone, which is positive, but she's not answering it. So, and the Sacred Heart Festival is going on right up the street, and there's a lot of questionable people there, and it's just kind of, I'm sorry.
He said that the last time he saw her was when he was leaving her townhouse around midnight the night before. He lived with his mom, which was only 5 minutes away on foot. John said they texted a few times, but Caitlin stopped responding a few hours later, and she also didn't answer his good morning text. The first thing the police noticed about him was that he had scratches on his neck. He told them that it was just from his electric razor. Then he said he wasn't sure, but he insisted it wasn't anything bad. He said that not seeing his fiancée was keeping him up at night, and that all he wanted was for her to come home safe and sound. Her father, Dave, and her younger sister, Allie, were very close to her, but neither of them knew anything. Dave said she was upbeat, friendly, and driven. She made up her mind and was going to follow it. She couldn't just leave. She was too practical. After looking into John a lot, detectives said he was no longer a person of interest and that they were moving on to other things.
Well, Lisa, you can see Fairfield Police and Fire have their mobile command center out here. About 100 people have gathered off Patterson Boulevard. They all received several of these with Caitlin Markham's picture and information. They've searched the woods, the streets, all looking for the 22-year-old.
Caitlin is the love of my life. I've Been with her for 6 years. We've been engaged for a year. Today would be exactly a year. Today's also her birthday.
Instead of celebrating Caitlin Markham's birthday, family, friends, and police are searching for the 22-year-old.
5 more.
They divided into groups and hit Fairfield streets by foot, by car, and even by ATV.
To just go unseen without telling anybody is extremely out of the ordinary. I just really would like to communicate that this is not part of who Caitlin is.
Friends say Caitlin is a responsible young woman, a student at the Art Institute of Cincinnati, also an employee there. Caitlin was last seen by her fiancé, John Carter, Saturday night. He says he left her townhouse around 11:30. About an hour later, he received a text from her.
Caitlin sent me a picture of her, and that was the last message I got.
When Caitlin never showed up for her other job at David's Bridal, people began to worry.
I kept texting her, no response, no response. I call her, no response. I have nothing in mind. She would never just leave. She's too pragmatic. She would never just take off and go somewhere. I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. I just want to find Caitlin and celebrate her birthday with her and go to Red Lobster like she was planning. That's all I want to do.
Police say there's no evidence of foul play. Reporting live tonight in Fairfield, Karen Johnson, News 5.
Gosh, her fiancé sounds so desperate, Karen. Anything missing from Caitlin's home?
Nope, just her and her cell phone, which police have not been able to trace. But one other thing I wanted to mention, they believe she was last seen wearing a gray shirt. So that's something people out here are also looking for, a gray shirt.
So far, they hadn't been able to find her phone, so they looked at information from her phone provider. From 11:04 p.m. on, she texted John from her phone, up until 11:36 p.m., but after that, there was nothing, just like he said. At 12:06 a.m., her phone was either dead, had no battery, or had the SIM card taken out. That's where things got cold. Officers talked to the manager of the GE Credit Union in Fairfield. The manager said that Caitlin had come into the union 3 weeks before she went missing on July 20th, 2011. She was with John's mom. Caitlin had told the manager that she wanted to get a credit card and that John's mom would help her get one. The manager said that John's mom joked, "I'll co-sign for the visa, but you have to take my son to Colorado with you." The manager then laughed and told Caitlin, "I guess you're stuck now." The manager thought back to how Caitlin didn't laugh back. She seemed more serious and sad. It seemed like she might not have thought of the credit card. Still, the card wasn't set up in the end, and that was the end of it. Someone else told police that they were with Caitlin and John on the night of August 13th. They said they smoked weed and talked about Caitlin and John's plans to move to Colorado in the next few months. The witness said Caitlin was working on schoolwork on her laptop and didn't move from the couch. He also said she seemed distant and not like herself. Around 10:45 p.m., he left her townhouse, leaving her and John alone. He said it was the last time he had seen Caitlin and that the only thing that stood out about her was that she was quiet. He also didn't remember seeing any scratches on John at that time, but he also said it was possible that he wasn't paying attention enough to remember. Even though polygraph tests aren't allowed and can't be used in court, the fact that the witness offered to take one shows that he told the truth. A couple of teens who had snuck out during the night between August 13th and August 14th told police that they had seen 2 cars driving from Caitlin's house with their headlights off. However, it looked like no one else had seen anything. Besides that, the police didn't have much else to go on.
Caitlin Markham, the woman missing from Fairfield.
21-year-old Caitlin Markham. Family and friends are all searching for a missing 22-year-old.
Caitlin was about to graduate in
Markham
September.
disappeared in August of 2011.
Volunteers spent days searching for Markham in the woods in and around her Fairfield
so
home.
Many unanswered questions about the disappearance.
Soon, Caitlin's case was all over the news. People in Fairfield were shocked by the case. The town had just over 40,000 people living in it, and violent crime was very uncommon. At all hours of the day and night, there were vigils, rallies, TV ads, and volunteers. There was a huge search and clues. A national mounted search group from Texas did dozens of searches in nearby counties, parks, and waterways. They also looked in old train tracks and other areas. Caitlin's family was pleading their case with all the strength they had, and she and her fiancé, John, were often in the news.
I keep believing that if she is somewhere in the worst case scenario, that she fights her way out. I keep wanting to believe that because she's strong. I know she's strong.
Some people were still looking at John, but he was sure he had nothing to do with anything.
Fairfield police didn't take much when they searched Caitlin's fiance's house. Tonight, he says he gave consent. He's doing whatever he can to help, even though he feels as if the entire community is pointing fingers and placing blame on him.
I really did not want this to get this far. I really wish that she would have been home by now. You know, I wish this could have been just a party for her being home instead of what it is, you know. People are going to say what they're going to say. You can't stop them.
23-year-old John Carter may not be able to stop the comments, but he can certainly make sure that people know how he feels.
I'm not going to acknowledge the ridiculous things that people are saying because I know, I mean, nobody's going to know about me. They don't know me. And I know me. I know that I would never hurt Caitlin ever in a million years.
Fairfield police have little evidence and no suspects.
That's pretty much it. There's nothing. And it's horrific.
Carter felt the animosity towards him when he was confronted while passing out flyers.
I guess he didn't know who I was, and he was just like, I heard the boyfriend did it. And I was just like, I'm the boyfriend. I would never do anything to hurt her.
And while the days without Caitlin continue, he finds comfort in her cat Ramsey and her artwork.
Soon after, it was Caitlin's 22nd birthday, but there wasn't time to think about how sad it was. At this point, everyone was still working hard. The Fairfield police were still saying there was no sign of foul play, which made Caitlin's family very angry. John talked about his relationship with his fiancée in a very positive way and said he missed him very much. But Caitlin's friend said that things might not be what they seem to be. For about 6 months, Caitlin had been telling her that she was unhappy and felt trapped. She told him she was tired of seeing him do drugs and watch pornography. She told him she wasn't interested in him or in being close to him anymore because things were so bad, and she didn't like the kinds of sexual activity John asked her to do. He might get angry and possessive. No matter how much Caitlin talked to other men, it became clear that she was done with her relationship and wanted to move on as soon as everyone started telling their stories. John wasn't going to change, and she could no longer explain his mean and possessive behavior. She also didn't like how involved John's mom was in everything. She thought things like the credit card were her way of trying to keep them together, even though she knew she wasn't happy. She might have felt so trapped that she just wanted to get away. Her family told her no way, not before I ask for help or tell someone something. Caitlin got things done and told everyone everything. In the days after she was reported missing, John had talked about her in the past tense several times, which the friend thought was strange. Things took a short turn and attention turned to someone else in June 2012. Greg Pratt, who was 26 years old, had lived right next door to Caitlin. He was charged with assaulting a student at Miami University, and police thought he might have something to do with Caitlin's case. It took a close look at him and where he was that night, though, and Fairfield police ruled him out. They were back to where they started. It was almost 2 years since she had last been seen. In the news, everyone was still talking about her. The reward for information kept going up, and John Carter and Caitlin's family looked like they were all on the same page. On April 7th, 2013,
and tonight, a major discovery and one of the Tri-State's most talked about unsolved.
The investigation would lead them to find human bones wrapped in a black plastic construction sheet in the middle of nowhere in Indiana's woods. Dental records showed that the bodies were indeed those of Caitlin Markham. It was 30 miles from her house.
Authorities have identified the remains of Caitlin Markham, the woman missing from Fairfield. Her remains were discovered Monday in Cedar Grove, Franklin County, Indiana, on Big Cedar Road.
Well, Clyde, it's certainly not the outcome anybody here in Fairfield was hoping for. And tonight, friends and family of Caitlin Markham know she won't be coming home.
I was just, digging through this little area here, picking up some metal, and here found a jawbone right on the other side of that little tree right there, right between them two little trees.
At his house, Hicks provided more details about his grisly discovery. He described his call to police after he found Caitlin's remains.
I picked it up and I said, that's not no animal. And I hung in a tree and went and called the cops, and, they sent us to the DNR. DNR says, well, what makes you so sure it's a human jawbone? And I said, well, it's got all its teeth and it's shaped just like mine.
Her skull was found on its own in a plastic bag that was tied shut. It was hard to see any fluids or stains from decomposing soft tissue inside the bag. According to the URG medical examiner, this meant that her head had not broken down in the bag, but was put inside after it had already broken down a lot. The bones weren't buried, they were just dumped with trash on top of them. She had some cuts on her left wrist from being hit with something sharp. The wound was described as a V-shaped cut that removed a layer of bone. It was thought that something had caused it. Besides that, there was nothing else that helped figure out what had happened to her, even though it was proven that she had been killed. No sign of her phone was seen nearby. That day had finally come for Caitlin's funeral. No one wore dark clothes, and her art was all over the walls. A lot of people spoke, and John did too.
We would have had our kiss. We would have had our marriage. We would have had we would have our kid. And we would have our life. And we would grow old together.
Carter's cousin says she considers herself lucky to have called Caitlin family.
Whenever I think of her, I just think of this smile and this artwork, and she was just a colorful human being. She meant well to everybody. Everybody was a friend.
Dave said that this made them feel better, but he felt so bad for Allie, Caitlin's 15-year-old sister, who was with her when she went missing. He said that Caitlin takes over his life some days. Her little sister lost someone very important in her life. The place where she was found added to the difficulties of an already tough case. They didn't think her body was put there in the first place because it was in a different state. The two groups of police had to work together. 2015 began in the same way as the last 2 years, quietly and with little movement. The amount of money offered for information had now reached $75,000. It was sad that Caitlin's case was losing steam as time went on.
3 years, and the question still remains. Who killed 22-year-old Caitlin Markham?
Dave, Caitlin's dad, was able to get the Butler County Sheriff's Office to look into the case again. This case was taken over by the Butler County Sheriff's Office from the Fairfield Police Department. So much had slowed down that Dave needed to look at things with fresh eyes and try something new. He was afraid that the murder of his daughter would be forgotten, which he couldn't stand. Dave also called private investigator J. Ryan Green. Green got into Caitlin and John's inner circle and talked to more than a dozen people. Except for John, 5 of them agreed to take polygraph tests. That's how Green narrowed his search down to 2 people. The examiner said that one subject failed the polygraph in epic proportions. In order to find new leads, a documentary called Taken Too Soon. The Caitlin Markham story was also shown at a movie theater in Springdale. The police said they had a person of interest near the end of 2016, but they didn't have enough proof to arrest them or give their name. The private investigator felt the same way about this person. Today, in 2023, 12 years after Caitlin went missing, the search for her finally began to move faster. The police made their first arrest.
If you wind back for me. I do know there's a warrant for you, but I'm not sure exactly what it's for. So they'll be able to explain all that stuff to you when we get there.
Another person, Jonathan Paulman, was charged with lying. The people who are looking into this now are on the right track. Private investigator Green said they have momentum and something that would make a judge sign off on a search warrant. Green said that Caitlin, John, and Jonathan Paulman were all friends with each other and knew each other very well. He also lived nearby, and John was his best friend. In fact, Jonathan was the first person John called when he went to her house the morning she was reported missing. Before Jonathan Paulman was arrested, search warrants were carried out on 2 different homes. One was where he lived in 2011 when Caitlin went missing, and the other was where John Carter lived with his mother at the time. Jonathan Paulman and John Carter were also close with a man named Michael Strauss. This channel has talked about Strauss before when it covered the case of Ellie White. Michael Strauss admitted to following Ellie around and killing her. He was given a 17-year-to-life sentence. Michael Strauss was being looked into by the police after he said that Ellie wasn't the first person he had killed. They eventually ruled out Michael Strauss, even though there were some links between Caitlin's case and Ellie's. The police kept going back to the same person over and over again, John Carter. John had mostly stayed out of the news since Caitlin's body was found. Investigators had built up a lot of weak evidence against him over the last 2 years. He was now 36 years old, married, and a father. What he said didn't make sense, and his stories never did. Dave's doubts had grown over the years. The teens said they saw 2 cars leaving Caitlin's that night. It turned out to be John's car and an unknown car. On the night of August 13th, 2011, both his and Caitlin's phones went dead around the same time. Investigators also found a lot of text messages that John and Caitlin sent each other after 8 p.m. and 8:36 p.m. that John had erased from his phone. He said he sent some texts like the good morning text, but he never did. John willingly took 3 polygraph tests, all of which showed he was lying. In September 2011, February 2014, and January 2021. Experts said that he lied on his last polygraph test when they asked him specifically if he had thrown away Caitlin's body on Big Cedar Road. His mother's house was searched, and more than a dozen things were taken away. There were notes about the investigation, Caitlin's schoolwork in a folder, an SD card, and poetry about killing and death. Investigators also found what they thought was the same material that Caitlin's body had been wrapped in when she was first found, not far from the Carter family farm. One of the notes had his name on it and said, "Deep down I love her. You ought to kill her, but I love her. She must die. I can't kill her. Yes, you can. No. Yes. How do you talk me into all these things? I'm just that good, but you're bad. I know. How do I kill you? You can't. You're right about nothing." A lot of people came forward to talk about how unstable and angry John was. There was also a video of him yelling at his current wife while holding their child.
Taking care of our daughter while you go ahead and do whatever the you want. Yeah, you pushed it. Put my buttons. Thank you. I want you to stop acting like a...
When detectives showed John some of the evidence, he didn't seem to react. He said it was all just a guess, and that they thought the detectives had used some strange language. There was a lot against him now, even though he had denied everything and begged for his fiance's safe return for years. They were sure of what they were telling the district attorney, even though they knew it was based on circumstantial evidence and not DNA or physical evidence. People charged with 2 counts of murder caught the 36-year-old at work in March 2023. One of the counts was trying to kill Caitlin on or around August 13th or 14th. On the second murder count, it was said that he killed her while committing or trying to commit a violent felony. John put up a $1 million bond and had to wear a GPS monitor as a condition of the bond. Jonathan Paulman was also freed until his trial. At his arraignment, John Carter said he was not guilty. His trial was set for June 2024. Jonathan Paulman was also supposed to go to court on a perjury charge, but the charge against him was later dropped. More than 50 people were called in by the prosecution in June 2024. It had been over 10 years since Caitlin went missing and was later found dead. John changed his plea after denying everything for 10 years. Dave said he felt like he wasn't in his body. He had a gut feeling about John for a long time. He said that it made him mad that John had thought he was above the law for 12 years, even though it was good to know he wasn't crazy. At her funeral, he stood there, hugged Dave, and cried with him. He also helped with the searches, even though everyone there knew what had happened. When someone asked him if he could at least say what happened, he said, "I cannot." One prisoner told police that John had told them how he killed Caitlin, but John never said this in court. Detectives never got this story from him. No one was ready for how little the sentence would be, even though everyone knew it would be much less.
The court imposes the following sentence. Based upon the serious nature of this offense and the factors that have previously been indicated, that anything short of the maximum sentence would demean the seriousness of the offender's conduct and its impact upon the victim, and therefore will impose a definite term of incarceration of 36 months.
John Carter was given the maximum sentence of 3 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter, which is a third-degree felony. He will then be under house arrest for 3 years. A detective who worked on the case said, "I've interviewed 1,000 people for everything from murder to trespassing, and I've never interviewed a psychopath. That's what I said when John left. That was the first psychopath I've ever interviewed." Police and prosecutors thought that John had help from someone else to get rid of her body and maybe cut her up. That person was finally found by Caitlin's family, but they still don't know the whole story of what happened and probably never will.
That is why there's no closure. I still do not know the whole story. And not that I would have believed him because he's lied for 13 years, but he's offered no explanation, hasn't even tried. And that just, to me, that just shows his character.
Do you think you'll ever get an explanation?
No. I don't. And even if he writes a confession in prison, he's going to have to be more convincing than he's been the past 13 years.
John will be free soon and able to live his life again. The judge couldn't do anything, even though the maximum sentence was given. It is unbelievable and very sad that Caitlin has not been given justice. A butterfly memorial for Caitlin Markham was held at a park near her home 14 years after she was last seen. There were trees planted, and everyone wore butterfly-themed clothes. Caitlin loved that the day was full of art and color. Someone could remind Dave that he is not alone, he said. He said it was impossible to live with such a loss and still not know what happened. Dave thinks about Caitlin all the time. It's not fair that Caitlin, her sister, me, her friend, and everyone else in the community who has hurt and grieved with us have to wait 3 years. I often think about what she would be doing with her job and art. She would be a wonderful woman. She was good at what she did and would go far. When I see a piece of art, I sometimes think, that should be Caitlin's up there. Thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate the time you take to watch these videos, and it means a lot that you choose to spend a part of your day with this channel. Your presence, whether silent or active in the comments, helps create a space where people can learn, think, and connect. Every view, every like, and every bit of support helps this community grow into something stronger and more meaningful. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And if you'd like to be part of the conversation, you're always welcome to share your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can, and I value every voice that joins in. Your ideas, your feedback, and even just your presence helps shape the direction of future videos. As we wrap up today's video, I just want to say thank you again for your continuous support. Take care of yourself, stay grounded, and give yourself time to rest and breathe. Life moves fast, and it's important to slow down when you can. I hope the rest of your day or night brings you peace, comfort, and something to smile about. Until we meet again in the next video, stay safe, stay kind, and I'll see you soon.